The World Cup is not just a football tournament. It is one of the biggest logistical operations on Earth, with 48 nations competing, millions of fans flying across the world, and over 5 billion people watching from every corner of the globe, most of them focused entirely on the football itself. But what's most fascinating is how it's organised, who pays for it, who profits from it, and what it actually takes to stage the biggest sporting event on the planet. From billion-dollar stadiums and global broadcasting rights to security operations, transportation networks, sponsorship deals, and the economic impact on entire countries, the World Cup is far more than a month-long tournament. It's a massive business, a political project, a technological challenge, and a global spectacle rolled into one. So how does the World Cup really work behind the scenes, and what does it cost to bring the world's game to the world? Well, as we all know, the World Cup preparation in a particular country actually starts about 8 years earlier in a room where FIFA announces the host country. And from that moment, the clock is ticking, because FIFA has a list of requirements for hosting this tournament that runs into hundreds of pages. Stadiums have to meet exact dimensional standards. Training grounds have to be built or upgraded for all 48 teams. Hotels have to be pre-booked years in advance. Transport systems have to be capable of moving 90,000 people in and out of a venue within a couple of hours. And here's the thing that makes all of this really interesting. FIFA owns the tournament, but the host country pays for almost everything. FIFA contributes around $1 to $2 billion toward running the event. The rest, from stadiums and security operations to the public infrastructure needed for the tournament, is largely paid for by the host nation, and these costs can be enormous. For instance, Germany spent roughly $6 billion hosting the 2006 World Cup. South Africa spent around $3.9 billion in 2010 building and upgrading stadiums, airports, and transport systems. Brazil spent approximately $15 billion for the 2014 tournament, with major investments in stadium construction and nationwide infrastructure projects. Russia spent an estimated $11 to $14 billion hosting the 2018 World Cup, including new stadiums, transportation upgrades, and urban development. Qatar is the most extreme example. They spent an estimated $220 billion getting ready. 8 brand new stadiums, a brand new metro system, a brand new airport, entire new districts built from scratch. They even moved the tournament from summer to November and December because summer temperatures in Qatar can reach 50 degrees Celsius, forcing organizers to develop cooling systems. One of the major challenges is the movement problem, because at the World Cup, millions of fans are moving themselves independently through whatever transport systems the host countries provide. In Qatar, all 8 stadiums were within a relatively small geographic area, roughly 35 miles across. That meant fans weren't really traveling between cities in the traditional sense. They were moving within a single, highly coordinated metro region. A brand new metro system connected stadiums, airports, hotels, and fan zones. With a single transit card, you could attend a lunchtime match in one stadium and still make it to an evening game in another. But 2026 is the opposite of that. This is the first World Cup ever spread across 3 countries: the United States, Canada, and Mexico, with 16 host cities and 16 stadiums stretched across an entire continent. Fans are not just moving within one metro system. They're navigating flights between countries, long-distance domestic travel, highway networks, and local transit systems that vary massively from city to city. A supporter following their team could start in New York, fly to Los Angeles, then continue to Toronto or Mexico City depending on the fixture list. FIFA expects around 5 million match attendees across the tournament, along with millions more international visitors who won't even enter stadiums, but will still move through host cities, hotels, fan zones, and airports. In some cities, public transport is strong enough to handle huge crowds. Subways, trains, and shuttle buses can move thousands of fans quickly after a match, but in other cities it's not that simple. Fans depend more on cars, ride shares, or special buses set up just for game days. That means getting to and from the stadium can take longer and feel more stressful. Because of this, the experience is not the same everywhere. It depends on the city, how good the transport system is, and how far the stadium is from where people are staying. In some cities, transport works like normal and is easy to use. In others, prices change or services are limited, which can confuse fans who are new to the city. On match day, a World Cup stadium is not just a sports venue. It becomes a temporary city of more than 90,000 people, and everything inside it has to function almost perfectly, all at once. Starting with the broadcast operation, every World Cup match is produced for a global audience in over 200 territories. This isn't just one camera feed, it's hundreds of cameras capturing every angle, from aerial views to close-up tactical shots. All of it is routed through massive production systems, commentary booths in dozens of languages, and satellite uplinks that send the match around the world in real time. These broadcast systems are built inside the stadium weeks before the tournament begins, tested under pressure, and then dismantled again within days after the final match in that venue. For these few weeks, the stadium becomes one of the most technologically dense environments in global sports. But the most complex layer is security, especially for a tournament like 2026. A World Cup final is classified as a Tier 1 international security event, similar in scale to a major political summit. The challenge in 2026 is that it doesn't sit under one system. It spans 3 countries, multiple federal governments, 16 regional or state authorities, 16 city police departments, and FIFA's own private security structure. Each of these operates under different laws, different communication systems, and different operational procedures. So before a single fan enters a stadium, all of these agencies have to be aligned. That includes joint training exercises, shared command structures, emergency response simulations, and coordination protocols designed specifically for the tournament. Then there's food and retail inside the stadium. FIFA works with licensed concession operators and private vendors who run all food and drink services inside the venue. At the same time, FIFA enforces strict commercial rules inside the venue, often referred to as clean site regulations. Only official FIFA sponsors and approved partners are allowed visible branding inside the stadium environment. That means existing stadium advertising, local vendors, and commercial signage are either replaced, covered, or completely redesigned for the tournament. Let's talk about the money, because this is where it gets really interesting. At the Qatar 2022 World Cup, FIFA generated over $7.5 billion in total revenue. That was the highest in the tournament's history at the time, driven mainly by broadcasting rights, global sponsorships, and ticket sales. Before that, the 2018 World Cup in Russia generated roughly $6.1 billion, showing how quickly the commercial side of the tournament has been growing from cycle to cycle. And even earlier, the 2014 World Cup in Brazil brought in about $4.8 billion, meaning that in just over a decade, FIFA nearly doubled its World Cup revenue. The 2026 World Cup is projected to take that even further. The 2026 World Cup is expected to generate around $11 billion in revenue for FIFA. This number doesn't come from just one source. It's built from multiple revenue streams that all peak at the same time. Broadcasting rights are the biggest piece. Over $4.2 billion comes from global media deals, sold across more than 200 territories. These contracts allow broadcasters around the world to show every match live. Sponsorship is the second biggest piece of the puzzle. FIFA structures its commercial partnerships in tiers, with global partners sitting at the very top. For 2026, all 16 global sponsorship slots were filled, marking the first time in World Cup history that every top-tier position was sold out before the tournament even began. Brands like Adidas, Coca-Cola, Visa, and Hyundai are paying in the region of $200 million each just for global association rights. But that number is only the entry point. On top of that, these companies typically spend multiples of that on marketing campaigns, stadium activations, digital advertising, and World Cup-specific branding pushes during the tournament window. Then there are the tickets. This is the part that often gets the most attention from fans. At the Qatar 2022 World Cup, FIFA generated around $949 million in ticket sales. Before that, at the 2018 World Cup in Russia, ticket revenue was estimated at around $600 to $700 million. And in earlier tournaments like Brazil 2014, ticket revenue was roughly $527 million. For 2026, FIFA is projecting close to $3 billion in ticket revenue, a 216% increase. Ticket pricing has also become more tiered and dynamic. Group stage tickets can range from roughly $450 to $990 depending on seating category, match profile, and demand. Knockout stages rise significantly, and the final reaches extreme premium levels, with some seats priced above $11,000 and in certain hospitality packages going well beyond $30,000. Because of this structure, attending the entire tournament becomes extremely expensive. Following a team from the group stage through to the final can cost several $1,000s just in tickets alone, before flights, accommodation, and internal travel are even considered. In comparison, earlier tournaments were significantly cheaper, but also operated on a much smaller commercial scale. And then there's FIFA itself. FIFA is technically a registered non-profit organization, but in financial terms, it operates more like a global sports business that redistributes its revenue back into football development. A large portion of its income is reinvested into its global development program, which supports all 211 member associations. This includes infrastructure funding, training programs, grassroots football development, and technical support across regions where football funding is limited. On top of that, the tournament also funds record prize money. For 2026, the prize pool is expected to reach around $655 million, the highest in World Cup history, distributed across all participating national teams based on performance and progression in the tournament. So while FIFA generates billions from the World Cup, a significant share is also redistributed back into the global football ecosystem. Here's a question someone might naturally ask. What does the host country actually gain from all of this? Financially speaking, the answer is often very little. While the World Cup generates billions in revenue for FIFA and global broadcasters, the host country is the one that carries most of the upfront cost. Stadiums, infrastructure upgrades, security operations, transport systems, and citywide preparations. Brazil spent above $15 billion on the 2014 World Cup. When the tournament ended, the estimated economic return was roughly $15 billion, meaning the country merely came close to breaking even on paper, but not quite. And even that number is debated depending on how you measure tourism boosts, long-term infrastructure use, and indirect economic activity. Russia in 2018 followed a similar pattern. Official estimates place spending at over $10 billion, with new stadiums, transport upgrades, and urban development projects spread across multiple host cities. While the tournament was widely praised for its organization, the long-term economic return was still heavily questioned by analysts, especially when compared to the scale of investment required to stage it. South Africa in 2010 faced an even tougher outcome. The country invested billions into stadium construction and infrastructure upgrades, but many of those stadiums struggled to find consistent use after the tournament ended. A significant portion of the investment did not translate into sustained economic return, leaving long-term questions about the financial value of hosting. So why do countries keep bidding? Because hosting the World Cup was never really about the financial return. It's about visibility, it's about soft power. Qatar spent $220 billion to introduce itself to 5 billion people who would otherwise know almost nothing about a small Gulf state. South Africa used 2010 to reshape how the world saw the continent after apartheid. The World Cup is, for many countries, the biggest global advertising campaign money can buy. The World Cup is the most watched sporting event in history. For about a month every 4 years, the planet actually agrees on something, and that alone is remarkable when you think about it. But what's even more fascinating is the logistics that make it possible. Nearly a decade of preparation goes into it. Billions are spent across multiple countries. Millions of people move across continents just to follow matches. At the same time, over 200 territories receive the broadcast signal in real time, while a global financial system generates billions of dollars from a single tournament.